Aloha and welcome to Spirit Chat Radio. It's been a little while since I've done a podcast, a couple weeks, but I've had a lot of stuff going on, and not to mention I'm working on some very cool things, especially for you guys who listen to the podcast that I think you're really, really going to enjoy. So I will be talking about that soon. But today's podcast is going to be four red flags you're being scammed by a psychic or a healer. The reason I decided to do this podcast is actually because, and I've done some stuff on this before, but I had a friend that was in one of my groups. I don't know, you may have seen her post in one of my groups, but it prompted me to really get into this topic a little bit further, because this is something that absolutely makes me very, very angry when something like this happens, because of the irresponsibility of it. It just really irks me. And because of that, I really wanted you guys to be more aware of some very easy red flags, very, very easy red flags that you should be able to see from a mile away. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit more. The reason that the specific post, and just mind you, this is not the first post that I've had like this, or this first question I've had like this. I get these questions quite often. But this particular one was a girl that I know was walking to her car, and she said she couldn't believe the coincidence of the timing, but she was approached and was told by someone, supposedly in the industry, that she has a dark evil energy blocking her heart chakra, which prevents her from sustaining a relationship, and then an evil spirit has been following her family for years. So she said, at first I thought, well, she's going to want more money out of me, because at least 3 psychics, she says, has told me her love chakra was blocked, and they can unblock it if they meditate on her. So basically, after being approached and whatnot, she wanted to know about someone's chakras being blocked and from further happiness, and she didn't like the energy that's surrounding this and didn't want to open to, behaving negatively. Basically, she moves forward in a positive light most of the time. This left her not feeling so good, and she basically was wondering about it. Again, I have this question a lot, and this is not random how this goes down. So I want to just let you guys know, I want to talk about how you can tell how red flags. When I read this, I knew immediately. I mean, it was just red flag number 1, 2, 3, just bam, bam, bam. Anybody should be able to tell these red flags. But let's go ahead and talk about them so that you know what the red flags are. Number 1, one of the first red flags that you're being scammed or approached or targeted by someone in the metaphysical industry is you are randomly approached. The number 1 flag is you are randomly approached. Now, I'm going to explain this a little bit in further detail, because it's not like, there are some legit people who can do this, but if you have a red flag number 1 and 2 and 3, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to know what's going down. So if you're randomly approached, the problem with this is whoever's randomly approaching you, if they've been in the industry for a long time, or they are legit or of high vibration, or they professionally do something for a living. The problem with being randomly approached is that breaks the number 1 code of ethics. Literally the number 1 code of ethics in the metaphysical industry. And that is, you should not and cannot approach somebody's, invade into their energetic space without their permission. That's an absolute deal breaker rule. You do not approach somebody who is not in a place to accept the information that you have, whether it be good or bad or whatever. The number 1 rule when you're doing healing work and metaphysical work, and if you're a healer, a metaphysical person out there who hasn't been mentored, it's good for you to know this. We're not given this gift to just go approach people and just spill the beans and just be like, hey, I see this and I see that. Absolutely in no way, shape, or form. That is just unacceptable. Just because if you're a healer, just because you're a healer or, a psychic or in the metaphysical industry, if you have the gift of being able to read somebody, that absolutely does not give you permission to invade somebody's space, energetic space. And that's why when you're randomly approached, it breaks the number one rule, especially if it's not helpful, especially if the information that you're providing or that you're receiving is not helpful. That is just a deal breaker. We're not given the gift of what we do to lower someone's vibration. That is a red flag number one. You're not given the gift to lower other people's vibrations, especially when there's not a level of trust or familiarity with the person that you are basically reading their energy and trying to push your energy upon them. Because when you give somebody a reading or when you give them a healing, you are energetically intruding into their space. So you're also pushing your energy upon their energy. So you're like pushing it upon them. You're in their bubble, so to speak, energetically. And so there has to, again, most legit healers, they, even if you have a long distance Reiki healing or any of those types of healings, people who are mentored and trained properly, they will always say, does it, like, let's say you're a parent and or your spouse and you want help with a child or significant other, they need a healing work done. They will always say, does this person give me permission to work on them? Because that is the number one code of ethics. It's a number one rule. So, and we can get into this a little bit further just for the simple fact of, when you're randomly approached, some people believe in this kind of stuff and some people do not believe in this kind of stuff. And if you were to approach somebody who didn't believe in this kind of stuff, you can really throw them off kilter and you can make them angry and you can have a very adverse reaction. This is the type of thing. Again, you need to be in a place where you're either familiar with a person or that they have agreed that, they'd like to receive some information in some way. But randomly approaching someone is definitely a flag. And, it's really interesting because for some reason, and I find this very curious, that even if people say they don't believe in metaphysics or like the ability for someone to see or do a psychic reading or be clairvoyant, clairaudient, etc., for some reason, there's like a level of trust that goes along with even saying you're psychic or you have a gift or ability. For some reason, people tend to automatically go, oh, well, it must be true. Like, even if they don't say it out loud and they question it and they go, oh, yeah, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. Somewhere in my personal experience in doing this for as many years as I've done this, a lot of times I've had people come to me and I've been at events where I can tell when they've seen other people usually, or even myself if they're skeptics, there's somewhere in the back of them that they really just go, this could definitely be true. So that I find interesting because you shouldn't just trust anyone that says that they have an ability or a gift for several different reasons. For one, they could be lying. They could be straight up lying to you, number one. Number two, even if they do have a gift and ability, to be able to read somebody and read somebody's energy is very different. It is 100% different than just having the gift and ability. To be able to read somebody, to be able to read them, they need a lot of training and they absolutely should have been mentored. Absolutely, hands down, you need a mentor if you're going to actually start reading people. And so there is a lot of things that you need to learn when it comes to reading somebody else's energy. Things like code of ethics, things like how to read people's energy when they're resistant, how to really give them the best guidance that you can give them with the information you're receiving. You don't just blurt out a bunch of information. That's not helpful. That's not helpful to anybody. You need to understand how to navigate the information that you're given in a way that is helpful to the client or the person, and can offer them guidance so that there's steps, so that their vibration is raising, so that they're feeling like a positive vibe. Even if there's ways to do that you can really offer some good guidance and help line out their energy and leave them in a higher vibration, even if you're delivering some not awesome news. But like I said, they need to be trained. So, and they need to be mentored if you're reading. So, they could just be lying to you. They could not have enough training. And the other thing is they could potentially be coming from a place where they are channeling or delivering negative spirit energy. That absolutely can happen. People can have a gift and they can really align with low vibration energies. That's a very more common than you would think thing. So I would say in most psychic fairs or events that I've been to where there was many people in the metaphysical industry, I would say you're talking about a 50-50, where you're talking about high vibration healers and metaphysical colleagues, and you're talking another 50% will be low vibration healers. They actually are tuning into low vibration spirits, and they're delivering and they're actually lowering people's vibrations. The interesting thing about that is, I would say a lot of times people the low vibration healers don't even realize that they're tuning into the lower vibration entities. Again, that comes from not enough mentoring and training. It comes from not enough knowledge on their part. And they also, you match vibration. So if they are a low vibration person to begin with, they're going to match with a low vibration spirit, unless that they learn to train themselves out of a low vibration. So there's a lot of stuff that maybe you guys probably don't know, or a lot of people don't talk about, of why you shouldn't be randomly approached, and why you shouldn't be just trusting anybody that says that they do this sort of thing for a living. Absolutely not. I'm in this business and I don't trust hardly anybody in the industry. Is that bad? That's kind of bad. But I would say, let's just say I'm very healthy. I'm very skeptical. And so when it comes to people in my own industry, I would say, when it comes to having them read my own family or be around my own family, we're very protective, because we only allow the most high vibration healers around us to work on us and be in. But my personal experience is I've just run into way too many that do not have a good intention, that have not been trained very well, that tend to be channeling lower vibration entities. And I'm not trying to scare you, but if you keep listening, we'll get into kind of what to do about this sort of thing. So, red flag number 2 is they're giving you terrible news. Like, that is an interesting thing to me. So, the girl who posted the thing that prompted this podcast, 1, she's randomly approached, and number 2, she's given terrible news. And so, if you're given terrible news, such as there's been a curse put on you, or you're surrounded by negative energy or negative spirits, you have blocked chakras, there's an evil spirit that's been in your family, anything that is leaving you feeling kind of icky as far as negative energy, negative vibe, negative curse, negative spirit, once they start talking about all of those sort of things in that tone, in that vibe, that is definitely another red flag. That is a high red flag number 2. The reason for that is, are there times when you can block your chakras? Yes. There are times that you can block your chakras. And if you have a legit healer, they will not, even if they feel like there's some negative energies around you, they don't never approach it that way, because technically you have total control and power over your chakras. You really, really do. And so if you're blocking them, because this is basically deep in your soul and whatnot. It's not like somebody's standing at the doorway of your chakras and just blocking them and then just putting up, concrete stuff around them. Nope, you can't operate this chakra anymore. Usually if people have blocked chakras, it's other things that they're actually have control of over in their life. So it doesn't work the way that people will imply. Can you have negative energies sort of attached to your energetic field and around you? Absolutely, you can. Can you tune into lower vibrations? Yes, but it doesn't work in the way that people who approach you and say, oh, you have a curse, negative energy, blah. Everybody's susceptible. Everybody. Every single person listening to this podcast is susceptible. Every person on this earth, whether you believe in what I'm talking about or not, is susceptible to lower vibration spirits, even hearing lower vibration chatter, where, like I tell you guys, when you're when you're dealing with telepathic thoughts, spiritual thoughts, are you susceptible to having low vibration chatter? Yes. A lot of times you think it's your internal dialogue. You think it's like, oh, you can't do this, you'll never amount to anything, etc., unless you've had really bad personal experience that's, you have some type of PTSD from your childhood, whatever. Those types, that's how spirits bring your vibration. You're less than, you can't, this will never happen. A lot of fearful thoughts when you're tuned into some low vibration spirits. But it doesn't work in the way that the terrible news is delivered, like I said, with curse, negative energy, because what that does is it basically, it tunes you right into the movie industry with how, oh my God, there could be a negative spirit in my house and it's going to stop this from happening. And I definitely have a curse on me. No, there's no curse. It doesn't work like that. Your family's not cursed. There's no evil spirit following your family around. Again, super red flag number 2. It's just anything leaving it with a negative spirits that you somehow feel is now attached to you, causing you horribleness in your life, and it needs to be plucked or removed somehow, like a disease or a virus. If you feel like they're explaining it to you in a way that you have to get some type of antibiotic, spiritual antibiotic, to get rid of this virus or disease or thing that's attached to you, and then all will be well. You will, just like if you'd feel physically well, then you would feel spiritually well. That is definitely a red flag. That is not how it works. That's red flag number 2. Red flag number 2 is they're offering you no solution, or they're offering you a solution to work on you. Or red flag number 3. Did I say that? I thought I said 2. So red flag number 3 is they're offering you no solution, or the solution is to work on you. Okay, now this is regardless of cost. So for instance, if somebody says, okay, let's say they randomly approach you, give you crappy news, and then they bolt. Obviously, that hits all 3 of the red flags we just talked about. Let's say they randomly approach you, give you crappy information, then say, yep, we need to meditate together. Or we need to do XYZ. I'm not going to charge you any money, but we need to do this. Still, that is definitely red flag number 3. The reason for that is a lot of times when people offer to work on you for free, it's kind of a bait and switch. They basically rope you in till they try to gain some trust, and then they switch it later and say that, they now cost so much money when people sort of become dependent on them. The other thing is as far as the working on you for free, some people do it for an ego boost, or they think that there's a sense of power that people feel like they have in the industry when they feel like they can manipulate somebody in a way that they feel like basically they're all powerful and seeing this thing and they're giving you this information, but they can help remove it. There's like an ego thing that can go along with it. So it can be a bait and switch, which turns into money. It can be an ego type of thing. If somebody's approaching you, giving you negative news, and then being like, I can fix it, I can help you. Super, super red flag number 3. Like I said, they're getting something out of this. They're making you feel crappy and then going, yep, I can fix you. No, that doesn't work like that, okay? So that is definitely a red flag number 3. So, and red flag number 4 is basically if they left you feeling fearful. If you go into a reading or you're approached randomly again, then and you're left feeling fearful, that is definitely red flag number 4. Here's the interesting thing about red flag number 4. A lot of times when people are left feeling fearful after they're approached or have a reading, these people are actually picking up on the energy of that psychic healer or whatever metaphysical person you're dealing with. A lot of times you are actually feeling their energy. Because when you are working with a healer or psychic or whatever that is working with some low vibration entities, if their intentions are not good, and they specifically know this, but they're still working to manipulate you, that they are not legit in any way, they tend to emit not a scary energy, but their energy tends to emit a fearful energy, and you can feel it. I've actually been around healers that I have felt this from, it doesn't scare me, of course, because I mean, that sounds weird when I say that, but it doesn't scare me because I know immediately, because I can read their energy, especially when they're trying to emit the fearful energy, or they're not knowing that they're emitting it and they do it anyways. For me, it just makes me get that much stronger and high vibration. I've had where I've actually had conversations with some who wanted to approach me and bring my vibration down, and it doesn't work very well for them, but they can come close, they can look you in the eyes, they do all these techniques, whether they're doing it on purpose or just following a spirit's guidance to really intimidate you on a psychic level. It's really interesting. But if you're left feeling fearful, that is definitely an indicator red flag number 4. And like I said, a lot of times you're not picking up on the situation that they've now informed you of that you didn't know about 5 minutes ago when your life was wonderful and fine. You are picking up on this weird energy that they are bringing to your attention, which is usually themselves or a message that they're trying to bring you. So, so what happens is, because of this manipulation of the person or the healer, it actually, when they emit this type of energy, what happens is it will direct your mind elsewhere. It will direct your mind not to the person, but there's a way that they can manipulate the energy. Your mind immediately goes, oh my gosh, attaches itself to the information, and then you start then it'll race on its own. Basically, they plant the seed and it grows. So that can happen. You're definitely probably picking up on the energy that they're emitting. So the one thing I do want to address before I talk about what you can do if you find yourself in a situation of any of these things, is even if these things tend to seem coincidental, they're usually not in the way that you feel like they are. readers who tend to either be scam artists knowingly or unknowingly, carrying a low vibration, specifically targeting people, they're reading your energy too. They they will pick up on what your weaknesses are. They know when to approach. It's a whole skill. And so it's not coincidental, but your brain will immediately, like I said, because immediately, for some reason, everybody in the metaphysical field, especially if they come in with confidence, it'll leave you questioning a lot of times. So it'll leave people questioning if it's real, legit information. And a lot of times they will veer towards the, oh my gosh. If it's fearful information, they will lean towards, oh my gosh, this might just happen. Because people naturally tend to, it's really weird, but if somebody came up and said, oh, you're going to have this really great love come into your life in like a year or 2 weeks or whatever, then people are like, oh God, yeah, that's never going to happen. But when people approach other people or give fearful information, for some reason, people tend to grasp on the negative quicker, easier, faster than they do the positive. It seems more like a legit reality to them. And so they'll hold on to that information. Isn't that interesting? It's people will definitely find it easier to believe any information that you give them that maybe is not awesome than they will that is the awesome information. They'll just go, oh yeah, I kind of hope that happens. So I find that interesting. So even if it's coincidental, it's really kind of not, because they can read your energy. Your brain's going to immediately try to find the connection. It's not coincidental the way that you think it is. So what do you do if something like this happens to you? What do you do? That's what's helpful, right? Well, first of all, you evaluate, is there at least 2 of these 4 red flags? What's happening? Like, first of all, you do an evaluation. Like I said, did we have any of these 4 red flags? Was I randomly approached? Was I given terrible news? Were they talking about curses, negative energy, etc., etc.? Was I offered no solution or an odd solution regarding their help? And or was I left feeling fearful? So, you kind of go through that and find out, how many of those red flags did you have? Secondly, how do you feel? If you're randomly approached or you do have a reading, how do you feel afterwards? Like, were you left feeling fearful, scared, afraid, worried? Were you left feeling anxious, anxiety? Were you left feeling like you didn't have any guidance? Were you left feeling like they just kind of approached you, gave you crappy information and bolted? There's no resolution. There's no real help there that you can do on your own that doesn't involve a person such as this. Like, for instance, block chakras is a good one. Yes, there are healers that can help you clear your energy field, clear your chakras, give people a healing. There actually is lots of people that are wonderful out there that do that. I know some myself that are amazing that I use for me, my children, my family. But those people I have a relationship with, I've worked with them for a long time. I got them by usually by a referral of some sort, and I go to them. They haven't approached me, said, hey, let me hook you up with this. So, there's a whole thing that goes with that, and they can actually be very helpful. But if someone's approaching you, think of it as think of them like used car salesmen. They're coming to you, they're trying to sell you a used car, whatever. So you want to go through the red flags, see how many you have. Then you want to assess how you're feeling. Do you feel like you have a resolution? Do you feel like that doesn't involve this person? Because the other thing with legit healers is a lot of times they can give you ideas to do on your own that don't cost money or that are very legit techniques that do involve meditation, but it's not like you have to meditate with this person. It could be like, hey, just go meditate, do a clearing, walk through these steps, You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're being codependent on this person for your health and well-being spiritually, right? Because you were randomly approached, etc. So if you're feeling not awesome, off balance, then the next thing that, well, first of all, I disregard the information, because at this point you want to know, what are their credentials anyways. However, if someone's randomly approaching somebody I know that would be a friend or family member, I would be like, I don't care what their credentials are. Might as well just throw that right out the window. And if you're staying in a fearful place or worried place that you just can't shake it and get it out of your mind, there are some other things you can do, like you can get another opinion from another psychic or healer who is reputable, who you seek out, who you're comfortable with. You can get another opinion and see what they say. You can either ask them, do I have any blocks? Or you can just say, hey, I was randomly approached. This is what they said. More often than not, if you've gone through the red flags, like I said, they're going to laugh anyways. If they're legit, and just be like, okay, yeah, throw that information out the window. So you can get another opinion. Again, make sure that you do your research. I always suggest that people always, when it comes to metaphysical people offering services, clearings, readings, healings, whatever, that you get a referral of somebody who's been and who has been with this person's energy and kind of knows their vibe and their guidance and whatnot. Another thing you can do is you can actually gain knowledge or start gaining more knowledge on how this type of thing works. Listening to this podcast is going to give you a lot of knowledge that things don't work that way. Though it doesn't work in the way that you've probably formed a lot of your opinions as far as negative energies and curses and things go with the movie industry. Are there some weird negative things out there that happen? Yes. But it can happen to anybody at any point in time. And it doesn't work in the way that you think anyways. So don't walk around being fearful. Basically what you're going to be wanting to be aware of if you're worried about negative spirits and negative entities or whatever, you want to keep your vibration high. You want to check your thoughts. Am I having thoughts that seem to be negative in tone? If they are, push them out. Start understanding and raising, switching your internal dialogue to positive thoughts. The more that you push out the negative thoughts, the less room. You're not going to vibe with any lower entity spirit type things. So if you raise your vibration, meditation, positive thinking, happiness, anything that raises your vibration, makes you feel good on the inside, is not going to allow you to match up and hear or be dealing with negative or lower vibration spirits. It doesn't work. Remember, it's like the magnet that repels. You can't match with a spirit or a vibration that doesn't match your vibration. You have to match vibrations. So you want to gain knowledge on it. It doesn't work like that. You want to also know that there's free will. You have free will in your life, and you have a lot of control over your life, especially when it comes to spiritual stuff. Just even if you don't have the knowledge and you're just listening to this podcast, you still have a lot of control over your spiritual well-being just by keeping your vibration high and being aware of negative people around you. You really, truthfully, guys, you really should be more concerned about the negative people you hang out with than you should be worried about a negative spirit slipping in your thought process, for real. You should be a lot more concerned about surrounding yourself with negative attitudes and negative people, because for some reason society and people today just view that as acceptable, and it has a really big impact on your spiritual vibration and your physical well-being. So your health, as far as physical and spiritual, it definitely will affect your vibration. The people the people. That's, it's funny because people will say, doesn't this freak you out? Like what if, especially at nighttime, or things get moved around in our house all the time, or doors slam, there's knocks. A lot of times things happen at night because that's when the veil is thinner and you can hear things more because all the energy's calmed down, etc., etc. So a lot of things go down, and it scares the heck out of my friends. And I'm like, and they'll be like, doesn't that freak you out? Like, aren't you afraid? And I'll be like, no, I'm way more afraid of some crazy person, like, breaking in your house. You should be way more afraid of some of the physical people out there that are just, crazy or violent or just negative. You should be way more concerned about those people than you should be in the spiritual realm of badness. So then the next thing, as far as gaining knowledge, that I would like people to know is, yes, we have checkpoints that we go through in life. Yes, we are here to learn, grow, and experience things on a grand scale that makes us stronger, smarter, grow spiritually. Will some of those things be bad experiences? Yes, we're not all going to go through life and not experience anything that is a horrible thing to go through. I mean, it's just, whether it be a breakup, an illness, a death in the family, or friends, or you injured your leg, whatever. We're not going to get through life without something potentially happening that we got to work through, adjust our attitude, and have a positive outlook and learn how to work through that experience. But, God or higher source or whatever, they don't have messengers coming around to give you bad information and then just leave you high and dry. It doesn't work like that. They don't just be like, hey, your heart chakra's blocked, and by the way, you have an evil spirit running around your family that's been there for years. I may or may not be able to help you. It won't cost me any money, but we should hook up, meditate together. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, that isn't how that works. That is not how God or higher spirit works. They don't just send messengers to you because you weren't listening and said, hey, FYI, something really crappy is going down around your family, and or you got really crappy. Like, that doesn't happen. That's not how that works, especially if there's no resolution or guidance that comes with that message that makes you feel like, wow, you really helped me avoid this situation, or wow, this was very helpful and I'm going to take that guidance. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting. Again, I'm going to leave you with this. By the time I get to the end, I think that you will have, I've drilled this probably into your head enough. But just because someone can or says that they can see things, hear things, have an ability to communicate with the spiritual realm, your spirit guides, God's source, whatever. Just because they say they can, number one, doesn't mean they can. And just because they say they can doesn't mean they're legit. And just because they say they can doesn't mean that they're trained to give you information. Okay? Because you shouldn't be left feeling fearful. You shouldn't be invaded on when you weren't expecting it. And you shouldn't be told you have any negative curses and weird things around. And you shouldn't ever be left with a message of terrible news that leaves you feeling fearful and afraid. You just shouldn't. So hopefully that was helpful. I just want to make sure that you guys check out don't forget to check out my keysofthespiritworld.com and download that chi meditation if you haven't already, because that meditation's been downloaded tens of thousands of times at this point. People love it. It's amazing. And definitely in my Keys of the Spirit World, you can join my spirit community. There's a little tab that says Spirit Community. And also, I have a premium podcast if you enjoy this one. and I'm going to be definitely hooking you guys up with that website soon, so if you want some more advanced spiritual knowledge. But until then, make sure you're in my spirit community. Make sure that you download my chi meditation or whatever, because you'll also get on the newsletter, so you will be informed of all those cool things that I have coming up. So until next time, definitely study your red flags. It's not rocket scientists, guys. It's pretty easy to tell if you're being scammed or you're not getting legit information. All right? Okay, you have a wonderful day, and until next time, aloha.